You guys, I have some gorgeous fabric to share with you today. My day started out because all I needed was to get some backing fabric for this superhero quilt that I've been working on. That's it. That was all I needed. So I decided I was going to avoid Joann's because I spend a fortune every time I go there, and they didn't have any good coupons today anyways. And I knew that Hobby Lobby had some 108, some extra large backing fabric that I've used before that had some nice texture to it that I was thinking would work well. And then we also have a small quilt shop here that's opened in town, and I went in there one time last year. They were brand new. They had a lot of really pretty little things, but not a lot of like blenders and stuff that I use. But I thought, well, it's not too far from Hobby Lobby, so maybe we'll pop in over there and see, what their selection looks like now, because I always prefer to buy from a local quilt shop if I can, but, the first time I went in there, they really didn't have the kind of fabric that I normally work with, so I hadn't been back, but I'm really glad I changed my mind today, because wait until you see some of the beautiful prints that I got. Oh my goodness. So first things first, my first stop was Hobby Lobby because I have this quilt that I've been working on for Tina's granddaughter. Here's a little picture of it here right now. And as you can see, it's not going as well or as easily as it should be. Tina ordered all these adorable little fairy prints off of Spoonflower a couple months ago. I did an unboxing video on them. And unfortunately, one of the issues with Spoonflower seems to be that a lot of these prints that you see online, especially if they have like a deep blue background, they tend to print out like just kind of washed out, gray, dull, definitely not the kind of vibe you want for a little girl's fairy quilt. So we started off in Hobby Lobby. I found the backing fabric, I set it aside, and then I just started pulling like nice bright prints, trying to find something, if anything, to lighten this quilt up, because she has this yellow fabric in it, and it's just throwing everything off because these other fabrics are so dark and the yellow is so bright that I need like the big Lebowski fabric. I need something that ties it all in together and makes it work. So I'm sorting through all these different fabrics, and there was a lady in line next to me, and we got to talking, and it turns out she makes kids' aprons. So, of course, we had lots to talk about. She was buying some beautiful Christmas prints, and which I stayed away from because I've already spent a fortune in Christmas. So anyway, and she had a lot of great ideas about colors and things, and we're just kind of trying to like brainstorm through it. And I picked out a couple, I'd found a couple that I felt like could probably work, and then, she said goodbye and moved on her way. And then the lady in line behind her, she's like, oh, I'm a quilt designer too. So then she had quite a few opinions about what she thought would work, and hers were like in the complete other direction. She really didn't like what I'd picked out with the first lady, and was kind of like going, was talking about more grays and things, which I definitely think color-wise she was onto something, but that's my biggest issue with this, is I don't want a quilt for a little girl to end up being a gray quilt. It needs to be brighter. So I bought a little bit of things from both of them, and it was super fun. Lots of chatty ladies. I'm handing out business cards, so hopefully some of you are watching right now. Anyways, lots of good ideas, but I still just really didn't feel like I had exactly what I needed. So we went on over to our new local quilt shop, which is called A Straight Stitch. And they had quite a lot to offer there. And so I picked out a few more prints over there. And, I'm hoping that I finally got enough between what I've bought that I can get this quilt moving in a better direction. Because right now it's making me want to pull my hair out. We've all had projects like that before. But if this was one for me, I might just rip it apart and start over. But it's for a client, so I'm going to have to sit down and figure out how to solve this puzzle fairly quickly, because I am ready to move on to, when these two are done, I'm going to move on to a moment in time part 2. So I am making this into a much larger quilt from my mom because she wants it to hang above her sofa. So I figured I would go and see if I can't get a couple prints that have the same feel, so I can start building my stash, because I am ready to start this one. I just did the new drawing, which is right here. So I've expanded it. I've added the magnolia tree, the little bird, so I can put some pops of red in there because she really wants red. It matches her living room. And then the mountains in the background to give it some depth, you know, and some more texture, because as a much larger piece, it needs to have more going on in it. So anyways, at Hobby Lobby, I did manage to snag these two, which I was very happy about. This one, it's got that kind of rougher feel that I don't love, but it's probably just going to end up being the backing fabric. Everybody who's ever sewn anything has seen this print before. It looks like the old Fusions print that, you know, 10 years ago you could get any color Fusions everywhere you went. And one of them looked like this, and then the other one looked like this. And I would use them in all different kinds of quilts. This one, I don't know if this is like a reprint or a knockoff or what, but it's definitely, it's not the same quality. It's very, that kind of denser, thicker fabric. The printing's okay, you know, but you can see the weave of the fabric in it. This was fairly affordable. You know, I bought it mostly for like a background or a backing or whatever, but I was happy with it. The texture of it is nice. The one that I really liked that I got at Hobby Lobby was this green one. It has in the print, it almost looks like a, almost kind of like a delicate, like dandelion type of look to it. But it's got a lot of movement and texture, which is something I really love. And this one is Be Creative with Miss Liss. Oh, no, yes, by M. Liss. So I haven't heard of that designer before, but I do really love this print. And this was a pretty good find for Hobby Lobby because, you know, I'm an art quilter. They sell a lot of cool little things for like making aprons and stuff. And they do have a decent sized color wall, but when it comes to like really nice, really fine textured fabrics, the stuff I really love to work with for my art quilts, really high quality quilting prints, you know, usually your small fabric store is the place to go. That's where you're gonna find all those hidden gems. Joann carries some of them, Hobby Lobby carries less. But the good stuff, the awesome stuff, which is what I have right here in my hand, that's what you're going to find at your local quilt shop if you're lucky enough to have one. So when I do, you know, my art quilts and things, one thing that's really important to me is texture and movement in fabric. You can see that like for her skin tone, I didn't use just a flat color. I wanted something with some blush and some movement because our skin is not flat in color. You can see for her hair, I keep my lines very simple and I let the texture of the fabric do a lot of the work for me. Even the blue, which looks solid from far away, has some texture and movement to it. Those are the prints that I really, really like working with. So after Hobby Lobby, I figured, you know, what's the harm in stopping into a straight stitch? You know, maybe, just maybe, they have some batiks now. When I went in there last year, they had some really beautiful full lines of fabric, lots of Michael Miller, some really cute stuff, but their color wall was fairly sparse, and I don't remember them having a section of batiks. So I figured it'll be okay. I'm not gonna spend a fortune because, you know, they probably don't have anything that I need. Boy, was I wrong. And boy, am I happy that I was wrong. They have so much more fabric now. You know, it's still fairly small compared to our old quilt shop that burned down, but, you know, they have a good selection. The color wall has like a full gradation of colors, and they had a nice solid section of batiks, and they had like my all-time favorite batik ever. This is a Robert Kaufman. It probably looks black to you, but it's actually an extremely deep navy. This is my favorite fabric to use for the background of just about any quilt. I've used it in tons of quilts, and I just love it so much because it just makes everything pop, especially if it has gold in it, because I love fabrics that have gold in it. So when I walked in and I saw that they had the batiks, I was happy right away, and then when I saw that they had the batik, I was like, I'll take everything on the bolt. So I got myself a good stash of this, which is very great, makes me very happy. You can see, I don't know, hopefully you can see the difference in the depth of color. You know, you're looking at this like this is navy, but it's just this deep, oh God. If your blood was blue, it would be this color blue. Like, it's just so beautiful. I can't get over it. So I was stoked, super stoked that they had that. And I was like, oh, I'll take this. And then I'm like looking around and I'm like, that's all I need to get. But, you know, they had this print. I walked by and I saw it, and they had it in orange, and it was like, be still, my heart. I needed it. I had to have it. But I know myself well enough to know that I can't buy yards and yards of bright orange fabric. I have entire bins of bright orange fabric. I love it, but I almost never use it in anything. You know, I'll buy some for like a redhead to do her hair and then realize it's way too bright. I don't know what it is about bright orange that draws me in, but it's an issue. Anyways, I opted for the safer version, and I got it in this kind of like burgundy red color, and I love this. Look at it. It's just got this great bohemian print to it. I could use this as an awesome background. You know, I've been drawing a whole bunch lately. Like, I've got all kinds of ideas for new sexy lady quilts, and a lot of them have kind of a bohemian feel. So I was thinking, how great would this be? But also because there's so much texture and everything going on in here, if I cut this small, I could use this, you know, for something like feathers. I could use it for all different kinds of things. So this is Dan Morris Designs 2018 for QT Fabrics, and I think, let's see, the color that I got is Cherry Bomb. Well, that's a cool name, Cherry Bomb. So I'm really happy with this. I'm still kind of pissed that I didn't at least buy a fat quarter of the orange, because it was just like on fire. So who knows, maybe I'll go back this week and get some more. I might be in trouble if I do though, because I definitely spent a lot more today than I planned on, but it's good. I'm supporting a local small business, right? The other thing that I absolutely had to have is they had some of this Robert Kaufman. I want to say they had this like set over with their holiday stuff. Let me take a look. Yeah, it says is this Bounty of the Season? Let's see, what's this one called? Bounty of the Season. Yeah, so I think this was like with their Christmas stuff, but you know, how cool is this? I can use this in anything. Like, it has kind of an Asian feel, you know, it's just so wonderful. And with the pop of gold, I can't tell you how many times I've made like a bird and just used a fabric like this for some of the feathers to like give it that extra pop, and it's come out really well. And Robert Kaufman is probably my all-time favorite. There's a couple brands that I really love. Like, I love Wyndham, I love Timeless Treasures, I love Hoffman, but Robert, and you know, I love Alexander Henry for the novelties, but Robert Kaufman, when they make something with gold in it, it's like my heart stops beating. It's an addiction that I have no problem admitting, and that I have no interest in having an intervention for. Anything Robert Kaufman, I love. So I had to get this, and then of course, as I'm standing there and she's cutting it, you know, I'm moving around the store and I'm like, oh, that's really nice too. And then I start to get in trouble. So she's cutting that. You know, I've been thinking lately that I want to do, you know, several like sexy lady quilts that have darker skin tone. So I don't like flat, you know, flat colors for skin tone. They had some really helpful ladies there. And the one lady who I was just running her ragged because she kept thinking I was done, and then I kept just throwing more fabric down. But she was so fun. I was showing her the quilt that I was making for my mom, and she actually had said that her sister passed away last year and inquired about me actually making a portrait of her sister, which how great would that be? I'd love to do that. So she got my card too, and then she asked for a couple more cards. So by the time I was done talking to her, I had no business cards left after all of my awesome quilting morning. So while we were chatting, I was looking and I saw this brown. I'm not sure, it's got a pattern to it. I really like it. I definitely am going to try to use this as a darker skin tone. It may be a little too much pattern. I'm not sure. The jury's still out on that. Or it could be just the right amount. So I bought the brown, and then I bought this lighter kind of tan color. And I know what you're thinking, that you're probably thinking this is kind of on the yellow side and a little tanner for skin tone. But I've found over the years that when I tend to lean more into the yellows and the browns, the skin tones actually end up coming out looking a lot more natural, as opposed to using like the pinker and the peaches. When I'm in the stores, you know, I worked in a quilt shop for years, and picking out colors was one of my favorite things. I think it was one of the things I was really good at, is, you know, just having an eye for color. And you know, and so there's always these wonderful people that work in the shops that want to help you out. And I've found over time that a lot of times when I mention skin tone, they're automatically pointing me in this direction of pink. When it's pink, it's like, it's too pink, it's overwhelming. So my best advice, if you're thinking about portraits, is go more towards the tans and the browns for the skin tone, and pick something like this. This is a Timeless Treasures. Let's see what this one is called. Both the brown and the tan are Timeless Treasures. One is called Bark, and one is called, oh, I don't know where it is. Meadow. So this is Meadow. This is Bark. And I'm really excited that they will end up working out as some good skin tones for me. I'll let you know how that works out. Fingers crossed. And then, so then once I had my mind in the browns, I look over and I see, oh gosh, more batiks. I have issues with batiks. This one is, let's see, Natural Canvas Nature is what it is labeled as. I'm not sure who the designer is, but it's really beautiful. I love the like twiggy bit to it. There's a good pot. This would be great for hair. This would be great for tree bark, you know, stuff like that, and the magnolia that I'm going to be doing. Either way, I love, you know, how it's got just like pockets of just bright, you know, little highlights in it. It's got so much movement and texture. It's just beautiful. And then let's see. So I'm standing there and I'm like, oh, I'll just take these few more. And then she goes to ring me up, and I turn around and there was this shelf of like tropical type prints that I hadn't seen, and I just, oh my gosh, this is the best. I think this was my favorite thing I bought all day today. This is a Kaufman Spectrum print, Garden State of Mind by Kaufman, California International. Oh, look at this. It's so beautiful. Look at it up close. Oh my God. The best thing about this is, one, it has orange in it. So if I use it, I could work in some of my orange prints. And two, it's a really different than a color scheme I would normally choose, but I love the look of it. So I buy a lot of these blenders to use as bits and pieces, but then I buy what I like to call my hugging fabric, because a lot of times I can't bring myself to cut into it. I just put it in a pile and I hug it and I look at it for a couple years and then I put it back. And then eventually, after a while, I figure out something that's worth cutting into it for. So I've been drawing all these different women lately, and I just saw this and I was like, oh, this is the kind of fabric that inspires me to draw something. So like a tropical woman or a really cool bird. How incredible would that be on this print? So I love this. They had it in several different colorways. You know, this has kind of the more like some of the fall type colors in it, but they had it in like brighter blues, like oceany colors, and some pastels that I noticed. It's so soft too, really soft. Would also make a great mask, you know, just really pretty, lots of texture. I'm sick and tired of making masks, so we're getting off of that. But anyway, and so she cut that one out and I was like, I'm done. She had all my fabric up at the register. I'm getting ready to pay, and I look over and they had a trunk of fall prints, and I was like, oh. And I'm looking at this green, and it looks like this green that I bought years ago, 10 years ago. Robert Kaufman had this imperial line of Japanese style fabrics, and it was the most incredible fabric line that I've ever bought in my entire life. And to this day, I'm still using bits and pieces and scraps of it in quilts all the time. It's been like literally my muse for the better part of the last 15 years. Is this one Robert Kaufman fabric line. And I looked over, and the one that I purchased had leaves, but they were more kind of like a Japanese maple leaf, whereas these are more just like straight maple leaves, but the color is exactly the same. The feel is exactly the same, with the bits of gold and the black outline and the darks and the darks and the lights all blended in together like that. I had to have it. And I apologize to the lady. This one, by the way, is also a bounty of the season. Hunju Lee for Robert Kaufman. Hyun, or Hun, I'm not sure. But either way, whoever you are, if you designed this, I love you. I want to be your new best friend. Please send me some free fabric. I will make anything you want out of it. I will be your fabric slave. But the lady was like, if you want it, it's okay. I can go cut it. And I was like, and can you do this too? So And this one, literally, all I saw was, oh my god, that's great hair for a redhead. I gotta make a quilt of a redhead because I hated the crooked face one. We gotta do something new with a redhead. This is like the best. It's perfect. It's Michael Miller Crystal, which is a really, really great blender for just about anything if you're looking for some texture and some movement with something that doesn't have as much print as this that might distract you a little bit from whatever your quilt is. If you just want like a good, you know, plain but not too plain background kind of thing, Crystal's the way to go. It's great texture for everything. I've even used this as skin tone before in a lighter colorway. So anyways, this was all these like beautiful fall type colors from a straight stitch. So happy that I went in there. It was wonderful to talk to the lady about doing a portrait for her sister, and it was just a great day. And the day's about to finish up because I am going to be having a phone call with the Quilting Cowboy about his new fabric line with Wyndham Fabrics, and he's going to send me some free fabric, so thanks to you, Kathy. I've got a couple new designs in the works, like an owl and a huntress that I'm going to play around with his fabrics, and I can't wait to see how they come out. So that's very exciting, so stay tuned. I met so many awesome quilty ladies today that hopefully some of you are tuning in. It was great to meet you. It's always awesome to have new viewers, and to all of my old viewers, thank you so much for sticking with me. So many fun projects coming up around the corner, so stay tuned. I love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day and an even better week. I will see you soon.